The first emperor of Rome, the complete story of Augustus. Rome was dying. For centuries, the Roman Republic had been ruled by senators, elected officials, and powerful generals. But ambition had torn the Republic apart. Generals fought generals, Romans fought Romans, and the streets of Rome were filled with blood. Then a young man stepped into the chaos. He was only 18 years old. He had no great army, no throne, no title, yet he would eventually become the most powerful man in the Roman world. His name was Augustus. This is the complete story of the man who ended the Roman Republic and became the first emperor of Rome. Augustus was born in 63 BC under the name Gaius Octavius. He came from a wealthy but relatively modest Roman family. His life changed forever when his great-uncle, Julius Caesar, became the most powerful man in Rome. Caesar recognized something special in the young Octavius. He adopted him as his son and named him his heir. Then, in 44 BC, everything changed. Julius Caesar was assassinated by Roman senators who feared he wanted to become king. The conspirators believed they had saved the Republic. Instead, they created another civil war. When Octavius learned that Caesar had named him his heir, he made a dangerous decision. He would claim Caesar's legacy. But Octavius was only 18. Many powerful Romans underestimated him. They were about to make a terrible mistake. Octavius returned to Italy and began gathering Caesar's veterans. He promised them rewards. He built alliances, and he quickly became a political force. But Rome had another powerful man, Mark Antony. Antony had been one of Caesar's closest generals. At first, Octavius and Antony were enemies, but they realized that neither could control Rome alone. So they formed an alliance with Marcus Lepidus. Together they created the Second Triumvirate. Their enemies were hunted down. Their property was confiscated, and thousands were killed. Among their victims was the famous Roman politician, Cicero. Then came the moment of revenge. The armies of Octavius and Antony marched east. At Philippi in 42 BC, they defeated the forces of Caesar's assassins, Brutus and Cassius. The men who had killed Caesar were gone, but Rome was still divided. The alliance between Octavius and Antony could not last forever. Antony traveled to Egypt, where he became closely connected with its legendary queen, Cleopatra VII. Octavius used their relationship against him. He presented Antony as a man who had abandoned Rome for a foreign queen. Tensions became open war. In 31 BC, the two sides met at the Battle of Actium. Octavius' forces defeated Antony and Cleopatra. They fled to Egypt. 1 year later, both Antony and Cleopatra were dead. Octavius had won. He was now the undisputed master of the Roman world. But there was a problem. Romans hated kings. They had overthrown their last king centuries earlier. If Octavius openly declared himself king, the Senate might turn against him. So he did something brilliant. He pretended to restore the Republic. In 27 BC, Octavius returned power to the Senate, but the Senate knew who truly controlled Rome. They gave him a new title, Augustus, meaning something like the revered one. He became the first Roman emperor. But Augustus rarely called himself a king. Instead, he presented himself as the first citizen of Rome. Behind the scenes, he controlled the army, the provinces, the treasury, and the political system. The Republic still existed in name, but Rome had entered a new age. The Roman Empire had begun. Augustus then turned his attention to rebuilding Rome. Decades of civil war had damaged the city. Augustus repaired temples, built roads, improved public buildings, strengthened the army, and created a permanent military system. He also established the Praetorian Guard, an elite force responsible for protecting the emperor. Under Augustus, Rome became more stable and prosperous. Trade expanded across the Mediterranean. Roman influence spread throughout Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Augustus also launched major military campaigns. Roman armies conquered new territories, but not every campaign ended in victory. One of Rome's greatest disasters came in AD 9, in the forests of Germania. 3 Roman legions were destroyed by Germanic warriors led by Arminius. The disaster shocked Augustus. According to ancient sources, he repeatedly cried out for his commander to return the lost legions. Rome would never fully conquer Germania. Yet Augustus's greatest achievement was not simply military expansion. It was stability. He had inherited a civilization exhausted by decades of civil war. He gave it peace. This period became known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. It would eventually last for generations. But Augustus still faced one major problem. He had no surviving biological son to inherit his power. He adopted several potential heirs. One by one, they died. Eventually, his stepson Tiberius became his successor. Augustus died in AD 14, at approximately 75 years old. He had ruled Rome for more than 40 years. By the time of his death, the republic that had existed for centuries was effectively gone. In its place stood an empire that would survive in some form for nearly 500 years in the west and much longer in the east. Augustus had begun his journey as a teenage heir to a murdered dictator. He survived powerful enemies, defeated Antony, defeated Cleopatra, ended decades of civil war, and transformed Rome forever. He did not call himself a king. He did not officially abolish the republic. Instead, he built something more powerful, an empire. His reign became the foundation upon which generations of Roman emperors would build. And so, the young man once underestimated by Rome became Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, and the man who transformed the